For nearly 12 years, I believe my wife, Vanessa, was the most honest person I knew. She was organized, responsible, and always seemed to have an explanation for everything. So when she told me she needed to attend a 3-day business conference in Chicago, I didn't think much of it. She packed professionally, kissed me goodbye, and promised to call every night. Everything seemed normal. At least that's what I thought. But on the second day of her trip, I received a phone call that changed everything. It came from someone I never expected to hear from, a former co-worker of Vanessa's. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes, but by the time it ended, I was staring at my phone in complete disbelief. According to him, Vanessa wasn't attending any conference. In fact, she hadn't even been registered for one. And suddenly, the entire trip began to look like a lie. At first, I wanted to dismiss the information. Maybe the co-worker was mistaken. Maybe there was another event. But the more I thought about it, the more things stopped adding up. Vanessa had been acting strangely for months. She guarded her phone carefully, stepped outside to take calls, and often worked late without clear explanations. Looking back, I realized I'd ignored dozens of warning signs because I trusted her. That evening, I searched online for the conference she supposedly attended. I couldn't find her name anywhere on the registration list. My stomach dropped. For the first time, I seriously considered the possibility that my wife wasn't on a business trip at all. She was somewhere else, with someone else. And if that was true, I needed proof. Instead of confronting Vanessa immediately, I made a different decision. I called her parents. It wasn't a choice I made lightly. Over the years, they had treated me like family. When I explained what I discovered, they were just as shocked as I was. First, they defended her. Then I showed them the evidence, the missing registration, the conflicting information, the suspicious messages she'd been receiving for months. The room fell silent. Finally, her father spoke. Let's find out the truth. The next morning, the three of us boarded a flight to Chicago. None of us spoke much during the trip. We were all trapped inside our own thoughts. Deep down, I prayed there was some innocent explanation waiting for us, but the closer we got to her hotel, the less I believed it. The hotel was expensive, far more expensive than the company would normally pay for employee travel. That detail alone made my stomach tighten. We approached the front desk and confirmed that Vanessa was indeed staying there. The receptionist pointed us toward the elevator. Her parents looked nervous. I felt strangely calm. After all the anxiety, uncertainty, and suspicion, the waiting was finally over. Whatever truth existed was waiting behind a single hotel room door. As we rode the elevator upward, nobody spoke. The tension was unbearable. Vanessa's mother quietly wiped tears from her eyes. Her father stared at the floor, and I kept thinking about the life we'd built together and whether it was about to collapse. When we reached the hallway, my heart pounded harder with every step. Room 814, that was the number. We stopped outside the door. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then Vanessa's father knocked firmly. Silence. He knocked again. This time we heard movement inside. Footsteps. Voices. A sudden crash, as if something had fallen. Everyone exchanged nervous glances. Then the door slowly opened, and what we saw left all three of us frozen in place. Standing there wasn't just Vanessa. Beside her stood a man wearing a hotel bathrobe. His expression was pure panic. Vanessa looked like she had seen a ghost. The hallway became completely silent. Vanessa's face turned white. Her mother covered her mouth with both hands. Her father looked like he couldn't breathe. For several seconds, nobody said anything. Then Vanessa whispered, "Dad." It wasn't a question. It was fear. The man beside her took a step backward, clearly realizing exactly who we were. Looking around the room, it was impossible to misunderstand the situation. There was one bed, 2 suitcases, 2 glasses of wine on the table. The evidence was everywhere. Every lie she told over the previous months suddenly collapsed at once, and the worst part was that nobody needed to accuse her of anything. The truth was standing right in front of us. Vanessa immediately started crying. She tried explaining. She claimed she had been unhappy. She claimed she felt neglected. She claimed she never intended for anyone to get hurt. But the explanation sounded hollow. Her father simply stared at her. Finally, he spoke. You lied to everyone. Those 4 words seemed to hit harder than anything else. Vanessa burst into tears. Meanwhile, the other man quietly gathered his belongings and disappeared from the room as fast as possible. No confrontation, no dramatic argument, just an uncomfortable retreat. Even he seemed to understand there was nothing he could say to make the situation better. What happened next surprised me. I expected anger. I expected shouting. Instead, there was disappointment. Deep, overwhelming disappointment. Vanessa's mother sat down and cried quietly. Her father looked years older than he had that morning. Watching them hurt was somehow worse than discovering the affair itself. Betrayal affects more than just spouses. It spreads through families like a shockwave. For years, her parents had probably talked about our marriage. Now they were watching it collapse in front of them, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. The flight home felt longer than the trip there. Vanessa didn't return with us. She stayed behind to deal with the consequences of her choices. Meanwhile, I spent most of the flight staring out the window. Surprisingly, I wasn't angry anymore. The uncertainty was gone. The questions were gone. The endless suspicion was gone. In their place was clarity. Painful clarity, but clarity nonetheless. Sometimes the truth hurts, but living inside a lie hurts even more. And at least now, I finally knew where I stood. Looking back, people often ask whether confronting my wife at that hotel was worth it. The answer is yes. Not because it saved my marriage. It didn't. But because it ended months of doubt. When the door opened that day, nobody was prepared for what we saw. Not her parents, not me, maybe not even Vanessa herself. In a single moment, every secret became visible, every excuse lost its power, and every lie came to an end. It wasn't the ending I wanted, but it was the truth. And sometimes the truth, no matter how painful, is the only thing that allows you to finally move forward.